A warm good afternoon to all the viewers, officials, principals, team members, teachers, and dear students. Welcome you all to the Senior Intermediate Physics webinar. Welcome to the chapter 7, the chapter 8, Magnetism. And today's our presenter is Srimati P. Uma Maheshwari, postgraduate teacher from physics from TSMS Gangadhara, Karimnagar district. Ma'am has given you children emphasized about the previous session on matter and magnetism. Let us see in this interesting session about Earth's magnetism and what are the different insights about the magnetism from our presenter, that is Uma ma'am. Ma'am, welcome. And now the session is all yours.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. Dear children, welcome to our physics webinar session. Children, it's been 13 days, I think, since our previous session streamed on YouTube. So now I want to recall the concepts, whatever we have learned in our previous session. Just take a look on the concepts, whatever we discussed in our previous session. Yeah. Properties of magnetic field lines, how the magnetic field lines are around a magnet, that is, and also properties of magnetic field lines. The magnetic field lines are continuous closed loops. They do not intersect with each other. Magnetic monopoles do not exist, means so always magnet exists with the dipoles, that is north pole and south pole. If you try to cut the magnet, again the two poles are formed. And also we learned about the Gauss law in magnetostatics, that is integral B dot ds equal to 0, means the total magnetic flux through a closed surface is always 0, unlike electrostatics. In our electrostatics, the total flux is equal to 1 by epsilon naught times to the charge enclosed by that surface. But in magnetostatics, the total flux through a closed surface is always 0. So children, you have to notice that Gauss law means not only electrostatics, it is also in magnetostatics. Read the question carefully. And also we have discussed about the key terms of bar magnet and what is the significance of bar magnet. Its length, its a magnetic length and the pole strength, and also magnetic dipole moment. And also we analogous the magnetic dipole with the electric dipole. It is magnetic field intensity at a point on axial line of a bar magnet is B equal to mu naught by 4 pi into 2m by r cube. What is m here, children? Yes, it is magnetic moment of the bar magnet. And B is the magnetic field at a point from the center of the bar magnet on axial line at a distance r. Children, you have to notice here. So these values are constant. So, but magnetic field is inversely proportional to the cube of the distance. And also we derived the equation for magnetic field at a point on equatorial line of bar magnet. B equal to minus mu naught by 4 pi into m by r cube. Why we got minus here, children? Because of the magnetic field and magnetic moment. Both are in opposite direction along equatorial line. What happened when the bar magnet kept in an external uniform magnetic field? Yes, it experiences torque like a electric dipole. So what is the torque equation? That is tau equal to m cross b. M is magnetic moment and B is the magnetic field strength. So it is a cross product. Tau is a vector quantity. And also bar magnet makes oscillations in an external uniform magnetic field due to restoring torque developed across the string. So the time period of that oscillation is given as T equal to 2 pi under root I by mv. This equation is also we derived. So what is I? Yes, moment of inertia of bar magnet. And m is, as we know, that magnetic moment, and b is the magnetic field strength. So, and also we derived the equation for potential energy of bar magnet, that is U equal to minus m dot b. So potential energy is a scalar quantity. That's why you'll get here dot product minus m dot b. So when the potential energy is negative, it represents that the stability of the magnet is more. The stability of the object is more. If it is positive, it is unstable. Okay, children. So now in this session, we are going to learn about bar magnet as an equivalent solenoid, and also about earth magnetism. Children, earth is also a giant magnet. How the earth possesses this magnetic nature. So this topic are going to discuss in this session, children. And also some elements of earth magnet means, so it describes the magnetic field of earth. So these elements describes the magnetic field of earth. Those are declination, horizontal component of earth field, and also dip angle. And also we are going to discuss some application problems, children. Okay, so let us start our session with a small concept, that is, it's not a small concept, it is an Ampere hypothesis. So what is Ampere's law? You already have learned in your 10th class, children. So it is a current carrying loop. Whenever the current flows, say it is the dot is said to be an electron. But the electron flows like this means, so the current carrying loop, if the current flows clockwise direction, then it behaves as a south pole. And when the current flows in anti-clockwise direction, that phase is behave as a north pole. This concept is already learned in your uh, 10th class, children. So also you will came across in your previous lesson, but the 7th lesson is not yet streamed, but no problem, just recall from your 10th class, children. So current carrying loop behave as a dipole. Current carrying loop behave as a magnetic dipole. So whenever the current flows in clockwise direction, phase is behave as a south pole, and whenever the current flows in anti-clockwise direction, then it will behave as a north pole. This is very important to our session, children. So what is the magnetic dipole moment, and what is the magnetic field lines whenever the current flows in a loop? See, observe here, children. Near the rim of the current carrying loop, so the magnetic field lines are come out from the loop and just forms the closed loop. Here, observe here. These two are the near the rim of the current carrying loop. The magnetic field lines are closed loop. But when we move toward the center, the magnetic field lines are almost parallel to each other. So this face is a, yes, north pole, and this face is a, other side is the south pole. So what is magnetic dipole moment for this loop? That is M equal to NIA. This will you will learn in our previous lesson, that is in 7th chapter, that is moving charges and magnetism. So that the magnetic dipole moment M equal to NIA. What is N here? N is the number of turns in the coil, and I is the current strength in this coil, and as well as A is the area of cross section of the coil. So this value is very important, children. So, but what is solenoid, children? Yes, when we wound the insulated copper wire on a hollow cylinder or a soft iron cylinder, see here. So this is the solenoid. So when we flow the current through this solenoid, it produces magnetic field. Yes, children, current carrying loop produces magnetic field. Current carrying conductor, if electron moves, if electron flows, It produces magnetic field according to our Oersted experiment. We already have learned in 10th class, children. That is Oersted experiment. Whenever the electricity passes through a conductor, it produces magnetic field simply. So here solenoid is a coil. See here. So a copper insulated copper wire wound on a soft cylinder. Okay. So whenever the electricity flows through this cylinder, flows through this coil, it produces magnetic field. But children, observe here, this is the pattern of magnetic field lines of a solenoid. If you compare with this bar magnet, it resembles the magnetic field lines. Observe here. So both are almost similar. Means what? So already we have learned about bar magnet in our previous section. So how the field lines are there, and also what is the magnetic field strength on axial line, and also what is the magnetic field strength on equatorial line. So but here, if bar magnet is analogous to the solenoid, means in solenoid the magnetic field is due to this circulating currents. Means you can imagine that, you can say that a bar magnet may have circulating currents. So it is an assumption. So if you want to prove this, just simply prove the magnetic field along the axial line of a solenoid equal to the magnetic field along the axial line of a bar magnet. If you prove this, then you can say that a bar magnet is equivalent to the solenoid. Okay. So there are some more physical points are there to compare with this bar magnet. When you Yeah, when you cut the solenoid into two pieces, what happened? Yes, it's again forms the two poles. The magnetic field lines are same. There is no change. It again forms the small magnets like a bar magnet. When we cut the bar magnet, it again forms the two poles. When we cut the solenoid, it again forms the two poles. This is one of this physical point which can from which we can say that the solenoid is equivalent to the bar magnet, or bar magnet is equivalent to the solenoid. Okay, children. So, but before going to compare the solenoid with the bar magnet, just to see this, what happened in solenoid. Yeah, observe here. So this is the currents passing through this coil like this, and these are the magnetic field produced. But here on the surface of the solenoid, you can observe here the magnetic field lines are in closed loops. All magnetic field lines are closed loops, but here you can observe so completely closed loops, and you can observe here the magnetic field line direction and the neighboring magnetic field line direction. Observe here, children. So this is in anti-clockwise direction, and this is in also anti-clockwise direction. But here at this point, so both are in opposite direction. Both are in opposite direction. So what happened here when they are equal? Here, children, these copper wires are equal in configuration. That means width, density, and as well as the radius of curvature, and also made up of same material. That's why both are having the same configuration and both are carrying the equal current strength. That's why both produces the equal magnetic field strength field lines. So that's why in between these two copper wires, so whatever the magnetic field lines are there, they are in opposite direction. They get cancelled each other. So means on the surface of the solenoid, the magnetic field gets cancelled. But inside the solenoid, you can observe here. So along the axis, the magnetic field lines are parallel to each other and strong. Parallel to each other and strong. So when the current flows in this direction, that is anti-clockwise direction, these faces behave as a north pole and these faces behave as a south pole. See here, children. Okay. So let's move to derive the a magnetic field strength at a point on axial line of the solenoid. See here, children. Simply I took cylinder and simply I took here a small portion of the solenoid. I didn't draw the remaining copper wires, only this portion. So this is the radius of the cylinder. Say this is the axial line which is passing through the center of the solenoid. So I'm taking a vertical line, that is y-axis, and it is taken as a center. So this is x-axis, this is y-axis. I'm choosing a point on the axial line, that is a P. And distance from the center of the solenoid to that point is a R. The width of the small element which we chosen is taken as dx. And it is at a distance from the center is say x. Distance from the center. And the distance from this element to the point say B. So children, the radius of the solenoid is A, and distance from the small element which we chosen on the solenoid is say B. Okay. So I'm just taking the only that loop, that dx loop, which consists number of turns n into dx. If you say that number of turns per unit length is small n, then number of turns in that coil will be n into dx, because of dx is the length of that coil. If small n is the number of turns per unit length, if the width of that coil is dx, then the total number of turns in that coil will be n into dx. Okay, children. If the distance of the coil from the center is say x, then what will be the distance from the center of the coil to that point? Yes, the total distance is r and this distance is x. Now the distance will be r minus x. Let us take these points P, Q and R. Q is the center of the coil and R is the element which we chosen on the rim of the loop. So this is the triangle, that is equilateral triangle, that is right angle triangle, that is PQR is formed, and this is A and this is R minus X and this is B. So from our geometry, that is from right angle triangle, we can write B equal to, that is hypotenuse, equal to, that is B square equal to A square plus R minus X whole square. Pythagoras theory, children. So then we can write B as equal to under root a squared plus r minus x whole square. So this B value is very important, children, because of we know the radius of the cylinder and we chosen the distance from the center of the solenoid. So we have to calculate this value, that is B equal to under root a square plus r minus x whole square. So again I'm drawing the same current carrying loop. Okay. So width of the chosen element is, that is dx, then number of turns per unit length is say n, then number of turns in the coil is a n into dx. Yeah, children. So Biot-Savart's law. Actually, you don't know about this Biot-Savart's law. So you will going to learn in 7th chapter, children. It is very important. So it is very simple. That is, Biot-Savart's law is nothing but the magnetic field at a point due to a current carrying conductor is always proportional to current strength in the coil, and the small element length, the length of the conductor, and also inversely proportional to the square of the distance. It is very important, children, and as well as the angle between position vector and the length of the small particle, the small piece which is chosen on the conductor. So this is very important, and the current, the magnetic field due to a current carrying loop along an axis at a point. We already derived this equation in our previous chapter. So note down this equation, it is very important. This is magnetic field due to a current carrying loop at a point on the axial line, that is B equal to mu naught N I A square by 2 into D square plus A square all power 3 by 2. children, here what is capital N? N is the number of turns in the coil, and I is the current strength in that coil. A is the radius of the that coil, and the D is nothing but distance from the center. D is the distance from the center of the coil to the point which we chosen on the axis, and A is again radius of the coil. So if you substitute these values with the r minus x and the radius of the solenoid A, then you will get like this. That is why I write here dB, because of this coil is the small portion of the total solenoid. So the width of this coil is dx. That's why here I'm writing the equation for the magnetic field due to only the small portion. That's why I'm taking here small portion of the magnetic field only. That is dB equal to mu naught. What is capital N? Number of turns. Already we know that the number of turns in that this coil is N dx. That is mu naught N dx. Current strength is I A square by 2 into distance from the center, that is here we have a r minus x whole square plus radius of the solenoid, that is radius of the coil is a square whole power 3 by 2. So remember this, note down this formula children in your notes. Okay, it is very important. So I'm going to the next slide. So children, if the dx element, so we already wrote the equation for magnetic field due to that small portion of the coil, sorry, the small width of the coil. So if you continuous this one, what happened? So if you add all those coils, you will get a full cylinder, that is full solenoid. Means if you integrate that width of the coil, that is dx, you will get total length of the solenoid, that is 2L. Here 2L is taken for the solenoid because of we choose a magnetic length for a bar magnet as 2L. That's why here also I'm taking length of the solenoid as 2L. So if you add all the elements, you will get all the add the all the width of the elements, you will get the total length is 2L. Means, so this is the equation what we got in the previous um, just previous slide, that is dB equal to mu naught n dx I a square by 2 into r minus x whole square plus a square whole power 3 by 2. So to get the children, here x is, if you choose x, what is x? This is the distance from the center to the coil. Yes, and also a is the radius of the cylinder, that is radius of the solenoid. If these values are very less compared to the r, what is r? Distance from the center to the point which we chosen. If these values are very small, then we can neglect these values. Why? Because of, children, when you square the 10, you will get 100, but when you square the 0.1, what you will get? 0.01. Means again you will get lesser value only. If you square or if you multiply the smaller value in many times, you will get the again small and small value, and also this value in denominator. So that's why you will get a decimal value. So when you square the or multiply the decimal value more times, you will get the small and small value which are negligible. That's why here I can write this equation like this. X and a values are negligible. These are in denominator. And here a is also small, but it is in numerator. Okay. So mu naught n dx I a square. When you neglect the x and a, you will get here 2 into r square whole power 3 by 2. Here 2 gets cancelled. You will get r cube. That is dB equal to mu naught n dx I a square 2r cube. So already just now I explained that when you integrate the small width of the current carrying loop, you will get the total solenoid. Means if you integrate all the small elements of the magnetic field due to that small element of the coil, you will get the total magnetic field, that is B equal to integral minus L to L dB, that is B equal to minus L to L mu naught N A square I by 2r cube into dx. Yes. So mu naught N A square I by 2r cube, all are the constant. You can take out from the integration. So you only get here integral minus L to L dx. So B equal to mu naught N I A square by 2r cube into integral dx is nothing but the total length of the solenoid, that is 2L. Just I'm multiplying and dividing with 2 pi children. So what is the use of this one? You will let you know. Let me know. You will know children. That is mu naught 2. I'm not multiplying these two number children. I'm just keeping like that only. 2Ni 2L pi a square by 2 to the 4, 4 pi r cube. So pi a square is the area of cross section A. So now the equation will be B equal to mu naught 2NIA 2L by 4 pi r cube. Note down this formula children. So what is magnetic moment? We have already explained this equation, that is M equal to NIA. So what is N? Number of turns in the coil. Here our solenoid have the length 2L. So small n is the number of turns per unit length. Now the total number of turns in the solenoid will be N into 2L. So means the magnetic moment can be written as M equal to NIA into 2L. Here in the place of capital N, I am writing just simply N into 2. N into 2L. NIA 2L. So means we can replace this term with M, that is magnetic moment. Now the equation will be B equal to mu naught by 4 pi into 2M by R cube. So what is this equation children? Just recall once. Yes, this is the equation for magnetic field strength along the axial line. Along the axial line means from this we can say that the solenoid is equivalent to bar magnet, or bar magnet is equivalent to a solenoid. So if already bar magnet is there, then what is the significance of solenoid? Children, bar magnet is a permanent magnet, but solenoid, if you just switch off, if you remove the connection, then it does not produce any magnetic field. So that is the reason why the solenoid is built up. Means solenoid can be used as a magnet whatever whenever it is required. So whenever it is not required, then you can just remove the connection. It behaves as a normal material. Okay. So this is about bar magnet and solenoid. Okay, children. Now I'm going to explain. So before going to explain some other concept, just let me visualize you the solenoid, how the magnetic field lines are produced, how the magnetic field lines are there around the solenoid. So this is a solenoid children. See, when a battery connected to a solenoid, when the current flows through a solenoid, see how the magnetic field lines are produced. And see here, this is north pole and this is south pole because of the current is flowing. Yeah, just depend on the direction of current. So inside the solenoid, it is a strong, you can observe here, inside the solenoid, uniform magnetic field. So it is a completely uniform parallel to the axial line. Very strong field can be produced inside the solenoid. If you increase the current strength in the solenoid, then the magnetic field strength is also increased. Okay, children? So now I'm going to explain you, that is about Earth. Earth magnetic field. What is Earth magnetic field? So Earth is a giant magnet. What is the reason behind that Earth possesses magnetic nature? Okay. So children, so this is the parts of the Earth. So if you divide, you can divide this into four parts. That is inner core, outer core, and this is crust, and this is outer region. So this is crust from top to, from the surface of the earth to the center, the distance, that is 0 to 100 kilometer, you will get the that is 0 to 100 kilometers, it is known as crust, earth crust. And from 100 to 2900 kilometers, it is said to be mantle. From 2900 to 5100 kilometers, it is said to be a outer core. And from 5100 kilometers to 6370 kilometers, it is said to be inner core. These are the parts of the, that is, these are the layers of the earth: crust, mantle, outer core, and inner core. Children, this outer core consists most of the metals, and it has very high temperature. That's why metals are in a molten state. Metals are in molten state. So what happened when you pour some water in a box and just rotate it? What happened, children? The water flows. The water also rotate inside the tumbler. Yes or no, children? So, children, our Earth is always in rotational motion. Always rotate itself and also rotate around the sun. So means whenever the earth is revolving, the whatever the liquid, that is whatever the metals are in molten state, that is also flows. So observe here, children. Just I'm cutting the earth one part. You can observe the layers of the earth: inner core, outer core, and mantle and crust. You can observe here. This is the outer core, which consists of molten nickel and iron. Molten nickel and iron. So whenever the earth rotates, it conducts, means a convectional motion is produced. Due to this, a convectional current is produced. And this convectional current is the source of the magnetic field. Is the source of the magnetic field. Means the convectional current produces due to convectional motion of the molten nickel and iron produces the magnetic field. So this is the earth magnetic field. This is the pole of the earth. And this effect is known as dynamo effect. The magnetic field arises due to convectional motion of molten nickel and iron in outer core region of the earth. And due to this, what happened, children? Yes, convectional current is produces. Due to this, magnetic field is produces. The magnetic field lines of the earth resembles with the bar magnet, as we just now we saw the video. At the magnetic field intensity approximately 3.6 into 10 to the power of minus 5 Tesla. So this is the Earth magnetic field approximation value, children. This value varies with the place to place because of Earth crust consists of so many different types of metals and so many different types of materials. That's why. So you can see the Earth magnetic field. This is a three-dimensional Earth magnetic field. So you can observe here. So Earth magnetic field lines are emanating from a place and moving towards a place. These are known as poles. These are known as poles. And already we know that. So magnetic field lines are always start from North Pole and ends at the South Pole. Means you can imagine a bar magnet inside the earth like this. So means you will get a small confusion. What is that? If the north pole of the bar magnet If you imagine the North Pole here, the magnetic field lines are starting from this position, means this is the North Pole. And these magnetic field lines are moved towards this point, means this is a South Pole. If this is North and this is South Pole, then why we always show the North Pole in this direction, children? So to avoid the confusion, so the nomenclature of poles is based on a magnetic compass. So when you place the magnetic compass, it shows the direction like this. See here, this is the south pole of this magnet, and it is attracted the north pole of this magnetic needle which is inside the magnetic compass. That's why this pole is named as north seeking pole. North seeking pole, and other end obviously it is south seeking pole. So means we are taking the nomenclature of the poles based on magnetic needle, not on the based on magnetic field lines. Okay children, so don't get confused. So this pole is named as according to the magnetic needle. In which direction the magnetic needle shows, that is taken as the north pole, and other one is south pole. That's why it is named as north seeking pole, that is magnetic north, and other end is magnetic south. But children, there is another one problem, that is at the rotate about an axis, and this axis not coincide with axis passing through the this magnetic north and magnetic south. It is not coincide, children. See here, this is the axis of rotation, and this is the axis passing through the magnetic north and magnetic south. So due to this, you will get true north here, that is geographic north and geographic south. So means the geographic north and south will be different than the magnetic north and south. Little bit variation is there. So let me explain you the elements of this earth once again. So if you imagine the bar magnet like this, and if you place the magnetic compass, it shows in this direction north. So this is taken as a magnetic north, and this is magnetic south. And axis passing through this magnetic north and south is known as axis of dipole, and this is the axis of rotation. And the poles which axis of rotation passes, those poles are named as geographic north and geographic south. And this is geographic equator, and this is magnetic equator. Children, this axis, that is axis of dipole and axis of rotation. So the plane which consists axis of rotation are known as geographic meridian. It is very important. The plane which consists axis of rotation is known as geographic meridian, and the plane which consists magnetic north and magnetic south is known as magnetic meridian. So what is this magnetic meridian? What is this geographic meridian? So simply it's a plane which consists of magnetic north and magnetic south is known as magnetic meridian. So, so observe here children. Say this is an axis, either it is the axis of dipole, either it is the axis of rotation, whatever it is and say simply axis. If you cut the sphere like this, you will get a plane like this, and this is the plane. This plane is said to be a meridian. If this axis passing through the magnetic north and magnetic south, this plane is known as magnetic meridian. If this axis pass through the geographic north and geographic south, this plane is said to be a geographic meridian. Understand children? So there is an angle between axis of rotation and axis of dipole, means there is an angle between true north to magnetic north. This angle between these true north and the magnetic north is known as declination. Is known as declination. This is a element of the earth magnetic field. It is very important, children. If you place the magnetic needle at any point, if you place the magnetic needle at any place on this earth, it shows the direction of magnetic north, children, not the true north. It always shows the magnetic north. So what is true north? So it can be traced with the help of a sundial. Do you know about sundial? Yeah, with the help of a shadow of the vertical stick, just to place on any place, just place the stick on the earth vertically, and just trace the shadow of the that stick, at which point you will get the smallest shadow, the smallest length of the shadow, that will be the true north and the true south line. So that is the geographic north and south, that will be the axis of rotation. So there is a small angle between the true north and magnetic north. That angle is known as declination, and this declination value will be different at the different positions, different locations. The angle between magnetic meridian and a geographic meridian at a point is known as magnetic declination. Or you can also define like this: the angle between true geographic north and magnetic north, that is the north shown by a compass needle. Children, this declination is greater at higher latitude and smaller near the equator. Why? Because of when we move towards the equator, so almost the axis of rotation, that is geographic meridian and magnetic meridian, are coincides. When they coincides, no angle between them, that is near it is happened at the equator. When we move towards the southern hemisphere or northern hemisphere, this angle is going on increases. So then in our India, at Delhi, the declination is 0 degrees 41 minutes east. Means what? This is almost less than 1 degree. It is a very smaller in value. So toward the east. So means the declination is toward the east, children. And at Mumbai, this declination value is 0 degrees 58 minutes. Means little bit more than Delhi. That is why, because of Mumbai and Delhi. See here, this value is very less than 1 degree, children. That is 41 minutes. It is less than almost 19 minutes. And here it is very less amount. 1 degree means very less amount. So these places are near to the equator. That's why the angle of declination is very less. But we move towards the poles. That is either it is a north pole, either it is a south pole. The declination value is going on increases. The children, I think you understood the declination. The declination is nothing but angle between true north and magnetic north. Simply you can say like this: angle between true north and magnetic north. So this is the geometrical representation. This is the true north and this is the direction shown by the magnetic compass. Angle between true north and magnetic north is known as declination. So another one important element is which describes the Earth magnetic field, that is horizontal component and vertical component of Earth magnetic field. What are these horizontal and vertical components? If you place the magnetic compass at any place, any position, so it shows certain direction. What direction? Simply it shows magnetic north and magnetic south, and this is the magnetic field direction. This is the earth magnetic field direction. If you split this vector into two perpendicular vectors according to the vector analysis, along x-axis you will get horizontal component, along y-axis you will get vertical component. And as we know that, children, horizontal component is equal to, yes, BE cos I. He is here. B is the vector which is showing in this direction, and the angle made by this vector to the horizontal axis, that is x axis, say I, then HE will be the BE cos I, and the vertical component, the ZE, be the BE sin I. We know the children already. If A is a vector, then along x axis it will be cos A, and along y axis it is will be sin A. So it is already learned. We have learned in our first year children. That is splitting of vector into two perpendicular components. So this is known as horizontal component. This is known as vertical component. See how it will be the on earth. So I'm placing it this position. So the line passing to the magnetic field is a magnetic field direction, that is BE. If you split into the two perpendicular components, that is, one is horizontal component, which is parallel to the surface of the earth, children. You have to remind that this horizontal component is parallel to the earth surface, and vertical component is passing through the center of the earth. Vertical component is always passed to the center of the earth. This is very important. These two are very important. At any location, if you draw a parallel line to the surface, you will get the horizontal component. If you draw a line passing through the center of the earth, you will get the vertical component. So these are the at the magnetic field horizontal component and vertical component, and this is the field direction. In southern hemisphere, so it will be like this. So this is the magnetic field direction, as we know, children. This is the magnetic field direction, and this is the horizontal component, and this is the vertical component. And when we choose at a location, if you draw like this, you take a small space on the earth. If it is a north pole, and this will be the east. Sorry. If it is a west, then it will be the total magnetic field. Total magnetic field, then this is the horizontal component, just splitting into the two perpendicular components, that is HE horizontal component, and this will be the vertical component. Now the angle between horizontal component to the total magnetic field, that is BE, is known as inclination. It is very important. It is known as inclination, or also known as dip. It is also known as dip. So simply the angle between magnetic field line, that is magnetic field, and horizontal component is known as angle of dip or angle of inclination. So just simply draw the right angle triangle, children. If it is parallel to the this y-axis, then the value of this value is also equal to ZE, that is same equal to the y-axis only. So you will get a right angle triangle here. So from the trigonometry, you can write the values, that is cos I equal to HE by BE. And we can write for sine and tan also, children, that is sine I equal to ZE by BE, and tan I equal to ZE by HE. So these are the components which are very important. So what is I here? Angle of dip, or also known as inclination. Simply inclination means, so when we stand at a place, okay, so the horizontal line which you pass at the place, so the magnetic field line little bit inclined to the surface. That angle between magnetic field and surface is known as inclination. Known as inclination. So the dip is the angle that the total magnetic field BE of the earth makes with the earth horizon at a point. We can write cos I equal to HE by BE. Near the equator, angle of dip is 0 because of earth surface, that is horizontal component, is coincide with the earth magnetic field. Due to this reason, the angle between them is 0. But near the poles, Near the poles it is 90 degrees. So see here children, this is a dip meter. Dip meter, it is not a some different kind of machine. It's a simple equal to the magnetic compass only. Just place the magnetic compass vertically. Place the magnetic compass vertically, you will get the dip meter. So this dip meter consists of a brass strip which always coincide with the earth horizon, earth horizon, and this is the magnetic needle. So you can see here it is just inclined with the earth horizon, that is horizontal brass strip. The angle between this brass strip and the magnetic needle measures the angle of dip. Measures the angle of dip. If you place the this dip meter near the equator, see here, if you place the dip meter near the equator, the magnetic needle coincide with the brass strip. Means magnetic field and earth horizontal component both are in same direction. Both are on the same line. Then angle between them is 0. Then angle of dip is 0. Just when we move towards the pole at this position, see here. So it making certain angle children. This is the earth horizon and this is the earth magnetic field direction. There is an angle between these two. So here the inclination angle is more. So if you move on the dip meter towards the poles, the value is going on increases. The value is going on increases. See here children, the angle, how the angle is going on increasing. So near the poles, exactly vertically. So the magnetic compass needle vertically situated means the angle between horizontal component and to the magnetic field line is 90 degrees. So in the southern hemisphere also same. So this is about the magnetic inclination. So we learned in this session children, that is declination and inclination, and also horizontal component of the earth magnetic field. These three are the elements of the earth magnetic field which are very important. Let us do an application problem. Yeah. The horizontal component of earth magnetic field is 3.6 into 10 to the power of minus 5 Tesla, where the dip is 60 degrees. Find the magnitude of the Earth's magnetic field. Children, as we know, what is the relation between dip angle and Earth magnetic field and the horizontal component of Earth magnetic field? Yes, that is BH is equal to B cos I. Then we can write cos I equal to BH by B. That is, here dip angle is I, which is given as 60 degrees. And earth magnetic field is, that is 3.6 into 10 to the power of minus 5 Tesla. Substitute the values in this equation. So we have to find B value, that is horizontal component is taken as here B, not like H. So whatever the terms given in problem, we have to use that only. Otherwise, you can use H also here, children. I used here B, you can use H also. So this is the horizontal component of the magnetic field BH, and this is the magnetic field, and this is the dip angle, that is B equal to BH by cos I. So what is BH is given, that is earth magnetic field, that is 3.6 into 10 to the power of minus 5 Tesla. And substitute the value in this equation, that is B equal to 3.6 into 10 to the power of minus 5 by cos 60. Now the earth magnetic field is equal to 7.2 into 10 to the power of minus 5 Tesla. Cos 60 is 1 by 2, means multiplied with 2. That is B equal to 7.2 into 10 to the power of minus 5 Tesla. In this way you have to calculate. You can calculate the horizontal component, or you can calculate the earth magnetic field strength at any point. If you know any one term, if you know any one parameter, you can calculate the other parameters. So this is the convenience of this equation. So let us do another problem. Here, Earth magnetic field at the equator is approximately 0.4 Gauss. Estimate the Earth dipole moment. The radius of the Earth is given as 6.4 into 10 to the power of 6 meters. See children, the Earth's magnetic field at the equator is 0.4 Gauss. So what is the Earth dipole moment? We have to calculate Earth dipole moment. So how to calculate the dipole moment of the Earth? Try to solve this problem. Try to understand the problem. So which formula can be used? Yes. So children, here the value is given on Earth equator. Means if you imagine a ball magnet inside the Earth. So what is Earth equator? You will get on the equatorial line. You will get on equatorial line. What is the magnetic field along the equatorial line? That is, yes, B equal to mu naught by 4 pi into m by r cube. Near the equator means it is simply you have to imagine that on the equatorial line of the bar magnet. On the equatorial line of the bar magnet. That's why we can use this formula, that is B equal to mu naught by 4 pi into m by r cube. From this, you have to calculate this dipole moment value. So already we have the values from the question, that is BE equal to 0.4 Gauss. You have to convert into Teslas, that is into 10 to the power of minus 4 Tesla. And radius of the Earth is given as 6.4 into 10 to the power of 6 meters. Substitute these two values, you will get this like this, that is m equal to r cubed into b by mu naught by 4 pi. I didn't change the 4 pi to the into numerator. I didn't write in the numerator because of we have a direct value, that is mu naught by 4 pi equal to 10 to the power of minus 7. That's why it will be easy for our convenience only. That is m equal to here 6.4 into 10 to the power of 6 radius of the Earth whole cube into 0.4 into 10 to the power of minus 4 Tesla, that is magnetic field strength, by mu naught by 4 pi value is 10 to the power of minus 7. So now if you calculate this value, you will get 1.05 into 10 to the power of 23 ampere meter square. So we have so many exercise problem in our textbook, children. So try to solve those problems. Okay. So just a sample problems I took here. That is Earth magnetic field, and also calculating dip angle, declination angle, and calculating the horizontal component of the Earth magnetic field from the dip angle, from the inclination. Okay, children. So there are some more problems are given in our textbook. Try to solve those problems. Then you can easily receive those concepts. So, children, in our India, there are so many observators. It is Indian Institute of Geomagnetism, IIG, which is located in Mumbai, which is established in 1971. So what they do actually? So these people researches on magnetic field, and also the north and south poles of the Earth magnet. Children, do you know the magnetic north and the magnetic south poles are not constantly located at a place. Those poles are moving. Poles are moving. And after some thousands of years, it may be interchanged. Means the magnetic north become a south magnetic, and the magnetic south become a magnetic north. It may interchange. This happens after thousands of years. So they are observing how these poles are moving and how the magnetic field is changing around this earth. So there are so many observators located in our India also, children. They are observing the continuously the magnetic field of the earth. So actually up to till 2013, so the magnetic north and moving with the speed of approximately 5 to 6 kilometers per year. But now after 2013, the speed is increases. Now it is 50 to 60 kilometers, children. 50 to 60 kilometers per year. It is moving. The speed of the motion of the magnetic poles means after some thousands of years, be ready. So the magnetic poles are interchanges. So means the magnetic field is not constant. The field is varies. So how this field varies with respect to the time. So these observations can be done by this institute, that is Indian Institute of Geomagnetism, IIG. And the IIG monitors the geomagnetic fields and fluctuations on land, under the ocean, and in space also. So the services used by this IIG, by ONGC, that is Oil and Natural Gas Corporation Limited. Why, children? Because of the digging the earth. The digging the earth means, so it is they always monitor the magnetic field fluctuations. Children, it is very important. Otherwise, some disasters may comes. So they always monitor the how the magnetic field lines are changing. And also NIO, National Institute of Oceanography. ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization. And these institute also uses the services of this IIG. Okay, children? So I think you understood about the Earth magnetic field, how the Earth magnetic field forms, and what is the reason behind the Earth possesses the magnetic field nature. So let us see what we have learned in this session, children. Once again, bar magnet is an equivalent solenoid, and we discussed about the earth magnetism, how the earth produces how the earth possesses magnetic nature, that is because of dynamo effect. What is dynamo effect? Yes, the convectional motion of molten nickel and iron in the outer core of the earth. So due to the motion of those molten nickel and iron, they produces conventional current, and conventional current is a source of magnetic field. So due to this reason, earth possesses magnetic nature. And also we discussed about elements of earth magnetic field, that is declination, inclination, and horizontal component of earth magnetic field. Declination is angle between true north and north shown by the magnetic needle. So it is a very small, you can measure near your place, children. Just hold your compass, you can easily calculate the declination at your position. And also inclination, just to place the magnetic compass vertically, you can also easily calculate the inclination. So inclination is angle between horizontal component of the earth magnetic field and the net total earth magnetic field. So the formula for this is cos I equal to He by Be. He is the horizontal component of earth magnetic field and B is the magnetic field of the earth. Okay, children? So these are the very important elements of earth magnetic field, and as well as the bar magnet, which we already discussed some points in previous session and some points in this session. So let us explain some more about magnetic properties of the material and the classification of materials with respect to the magnetic nature. Based on this magnetic nature, materials can be divided into materials can be classified into dia, para, and ferromagnetism magnetic materials. And what are those? How they classified? And what are the properties of these materials? Also, we'll discuss in our next session, children. Until then, thank you. Madam. Shailaja madam.
Thank you so much. You have discussed elaboratively about the magnetism, the various concepts involved in magnetism, the animations, the videos you have presented gave clear and deep understanding about the concept of magnetism. And you have thrown light on the various institutes that are associated with magnetism. Thank you, madam. Children, the concept was discussed elaboratively to make more interesting whatever that is presented in the textbook. So please revisit this site, make your own notes, and stay home, stay safe. Thank you.